Hey guys! So today I wanted to talk to you about a film that was recommended to me by Scozio. If you don't know Scozio, I will leave their channel down below because oh my god, very cool videos, and all in Italian, which is very cool. Anyway, moving onwards. They recommended me a film called Un Homme qui dort, and that's in French, and I think it translates as a man who is sleeping, and it's such a cool film, mainly because it's really different from anything else I think I've ever seen. It's also made in 1974, so it's black and white, but also it's quite retro, but also plays with your mind a bit, I think, in a way, because basically the way it's filmed is you sort of start off watching this man just sort of going through the motions of his everyday life, and then what starts off round about, I don't know how many minutes in, but sort of after a bit of silent sort of watching, is this voice that basically talks through how he's thinking and what he's thinking all the way through his life, or like his daily life. I don't think he ages very much throughout the film, but it's really interesting because what happens throughout the film is he basically retracts away from himself. You don't really ever see like friends as such. You sort of just see him like doing as minimal interaction as possible, and the reason why this film is so powerful is because it's basically him almost taking control of his life, in the sense that he minimalizes his existence so much. And I've also seen this in a book I've read about a lady who went through anorexia, and it's almost a very similar thing in the way that you become very controlling over everything in your life. And the reason why this film is so interesting is because it sort of goes through this whole cycle of trying to figure out how he can take control and how he can just stop needing, in a way. Like I think when you start off at the beginning of the film, he starts off doing all the bare minimum things, and you play on that theme of just coming back to those same things. But the cool thing about it is it sort of becomes deeper and deeper, and you sort of see the actual feelings he has about the things he does as you go along. So there's where he wants to go, but where he actually is. So there's he basically, I don't know, the interesting thing as well is you don't actually know how he functions, in the sense that he doesn't have a job, but he has an apartment, and you know, he's constantly keeping himself alive, obviously through the little habits that he does have, but it's very odd. But I think the cool thing is it makes you realise that being indifferent and not appreciating life and seeing it as all different, and you know, appreciating the adversity isn't actually that good for you, and it can lead to quite a lot of unhappiness. And I think that's one of the messages, but I think it's just really interesting to see just how much he closes into himself, and just how much you can get lost in one thing and just sort of lose sight of the entire bigger picture. Because I think that's what happens sometimes, especially when you sort of fall into yourself. Like you do become quite self-centered. Like there's a line in the film which is almost like he's like the faceless master of the world, and obviously like he's not, and he kind of comes to that, like, you know, as much as I like pretending that I am, I really am not. And I think the other beautiful thing is, like, even if you're just reading the subtitles, like the metaphors it uses is really interesting, because you don't really see any other dialogue. It's literally just this narrator, but the way it's all put together, and the themes it comes back to, and the background noises it almost plays on, like it basically, when it sort of talks about like a habit that he sort of comes back to, it often has that noise in the background. So there's a point where it's talking about how he always comes back to playing this pinball machine, and then for the next few scenes you can just hear that pinball machine in the background of whatever's going on. And yeah, it's just really interesting because it makes you think about why he does what he does and what he's trying to achieve, but also you don't really understand where he's going with it, or not necessarily where he's going with it, but why he's doing what he's doing, because I guess most people don't try and sort of minimalise their existence so much, or just because he ends up treating everything very blandly, and I don't know, it's just, yeah, it makes you really think about why someone would want to do that. So I guess it's on YouTube, so if you'd like to go and watch it, I would highly recommend it. I had a lot of fun. Like when I first was recommended the film, I didn't actually know it was a French film, so I was like, oh my god, it's like my second French film. But yeah, I really enjoyed being able to put the words together, and I think that's another joy of it as well, like it's in French, and that's very cool. So I hope you're all having a wonderful time doing what you're doing. I will leave the linkages in the description, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.